Assalamualaikum. My name is Diana Hazika binti Abdul Rahman. I'm from DHI 60. So, I am a halal executive at Ali Delight Sdn Bhd and have been appointed to conduct an internal halal audit at the company Oriental Delight Sdn Bhd. During the auditing process, there were several non-conformities that I found, and I will present them on a next slide. The first non-conformance that I found during the process audit at the production area is animal which is stock entering the premises production area. This is very critical because dogs are included in the category of najis mughallaza according to Islamic law. So the presence of dogs can cause the premise, equipment and the product to be contaminated and can affect the halal certification status. So for the category of the this non-conformance is serious because it involves animals which is thought are haram and under the category of najis mughallaza. So the clause related for this non-conformance is MPPHM 2020, clause 70.5E and 70.8C and MS 1500 2019, clause 4.2.11 and clause 4.5.2 B and D. The root cause analysis for this non-conformance is because the lack of physical control system such as fences or nets around the premise which allows animals such as dogs to easily enter the production area. In addition, the management does not provide halal awareness training to their employees, so it can result a lack of attention in keeping animal out of the premise. So next is my recommendation for the correction and corrective action for the non-conformance. So the first is immediately remove the dog from the production area because its presence can affect the halal status of product and premise. And second, exposed product must be disposed of to avoiding suspicion or doubt regarding the halal status of product that may have been contaminated with the dog, and then perform a SIR2 immediately in the contaminated area and all areas because SIR2 is mandatory to purify areas affected by Mughalaza impurity according to Islamic law, including all surfaces and equipment at risk. For the corrective action, is installing security fences such as gates or nets because to prevent animals such as dogs from entering the production premise in the future. And second, create SOP for animal prohibition and premises safety. So that all workers are clear about the halal rules, then prohibit the presence of animals such as dog in the processing area. And the lastly is provide training to employees on Mughalaza impurity and halal compliance so that workers understand the effect on the presence of Mughalaza faces and now the action to be taken if similar accident occurs. Next is second non-conformance that I found during the audit process at the production area, which is workers do not comply with hygiene regulation because they handle food in direct contact with their hands without personal protective equipment. Um, so the worker breaking eggs into the batter using direct hand contacts without glove, and the category of non-conformance is major because it handling raw eggs without the use of PPE such as gloves can increase risk of microbiological contamination, for example salmonella, and can contaminate food products. Although it does not involve a direct violation of Islamic law, it can compromise the hygiene and halal integrity of the product produced. And the clause related for this non-conformance is MPPHM 2020 clause 70.3 A, E, and F, and clause 70.9 B, E, and H. And then MS 1500 2019 clause 4.41 and 4.43. So next is the root cause analysis for the non-conformance. Is first, employees are not trained on hygiene and take hygiene issue lightly when handling food. And second, not monitored by management. So, the lack of training provided to workers on handling risky raw materials such as egg, as well as the requirement to wear personal protective equipment in accordance with halal hygiene practice. In addition, there is no regular monitoring or supervision by management of daily work practice. As a result, workers handle raw eggs without following proper hygiene procedure. Failure in training and internal supervision contribute to this non-compliance. Next is my recommendation for correction and corrective action. So the first one is discard the contaminated mixture because it is a risk of contamination by bacteria from raw eggs that are not handled cleanly. Second, the eggs that will be used after this will be washed and handled using special equipment and appropriate PPE such as gloves, to ensure that the eggs are clean before use and not directly touched by the hands of the workers. And third is supervisor are need to monitor the hygiene compliance and raw material handling so that non-compliant practice can be detected early and prevented from recurring. And for the corrective action, need to develop and implement SOP for handling raw eggs, including the washing process and use of special tools, so that workers have a clear guidance on the correct and halal way to handle eggs. Second, make the use of personal protect personal protective equipment mandatory for employees. Um, such as gloves for all workers, to ensure hand hygiene when handling sensitive raw materials such as egg. And lastly, provide training to employees about hygiene, safety, and quality, so that workers understand the importance of wearing PPE and its impact on the halal status. So next is the last non-conformance that I found during audit, which is raw material is placed directly on the floor without pallet or racks or racks and without proper labeling and segregation. So the category of non-conformance is minor because it does not involve a direct violation of Islamic law and does not cause the product to be haram or suspicious. However, placing raw materials directly on the floor violates the regulation in the MPPHM. So raw materials need to be stored and shelved and to put at the pallet to avoid the risk of contamination. So this issue is more of a weakness in hygiene practice and store management for raw materials and can still be corrected without affecting the halal status of the product as a whole. So the clause related is in MPPHM 2020, clause 70.1A and clause 70.4 F and G. This non-conformance is found at the dry raw material storage area. So next is the root cause analysis for that the non-conformance. So the first one is no shelf or suitable place to place raw material. And second, no SOP and training for employees on raw material management in the store. So this non-compliance occurs because there are no suitable shelf, rack, or storage facilities provided in the raw material store. In addition, there are no SOP that stipulated how to store raw materials according to halal requirements, such as the use of multi-level shelf and FIFO arrangements. Deficiencies in the aspect of premises facilities and storage system documentation have caused workers to place raw materials directly on the floor without realizing that it violates regulation and can cause risk of contamination. So lastly is my recommendation for the correction and corrective action for the last non-conformance, which is all raw materials placed on the floor must be immediately moved to the table. An inspection need to be carried out to ensure that the materials are not contaminated, damaged, or expired while on the floor. And for the corrective action, I suggest the company need to purchase uh, and install multi-level shelf for a more organized and clean raw material storage system. In addition, it is necessary to create a new SOP specifically for the correct, clean and halal storage of raw materials. And lastly, provide training to employees on raw material management according to halal standard and GHP. Is also the training also needs to be provided to all employees regarding the management of raw materials store according to halal standard and good hygiene practice principle and related regulation. So my presentation earlier is the non-conformance that I found in the Oriental Delight Syndrome Berhad. So that's all from me. Thank you.